So 3 Men and a Tenor, I've got to tell you, folks, that really, truly is one of my favorite jobs of my life. I love that. You're going to find out that every single job that I've had has been one of my favorite jobs of my life. I have picked them well because I really did enjoy everything I did. I know this is dangerous in this territory to say this, but I am a Spartan. I went to Michigan State. Thank you. Thank you. Go green, go white. I loved going to school at Michigan State. I was in the marching band at Michigan State, a tuba player all 4 years, the vice president of the band. And it's actually where I decided that I wanted to sing, because the Spartan Marching Band has this tradition of marching to the stadium, and then outside the stadium, everybody's huffing and puffing from this long journey to the stadium. And the band director gets up on a ladder and says, "All right, folks, let's sing." And I remember this was brand new to me as a freshman. They didn't tell us why we needed to know the lyrics to the alma mater, just that we did. And so there we were, 300 people huddled together, and we sang the MSU Shadows. And I remember right in the middle of this group is where I was positioned with all of these voices around me, and I thought to myself, okay, I need to do this. I've got to sing in a group. So I joined up for the Glee Club the next semester, and that is in fact where I met the other guys in 3 Men and a Tenor. It was kind of an interesting thing. One of the guys was the vice president of the Glee Club, and I got to know each of these guys individually. I took a class with Glenn, the short guy. I had another class with Paul, the bass guy, and then Mark. I just sang right next to him in the Glee Club. One day, the Glee Club director walked into the Glee Club and he said, "Gentlemen, we have a problem. In 2 weeks, we have a concert with the jazz band in Grayling, and the jazz band's not going to be there. They just got an opportunity to go play in Chicago for an event that was too good of an opportunity for them to turn down, and they asked me if we could pick up the slack and play their 40 minutes of music. And so we're going to. And so we're going to sing 3 songs from last semester that most of you know. The Discords are going to sing a couple songs, and then we got to fill up about 20 minutes. So if you can sing a solo or a duet or juggle, if you're not awful, you're in." And so these 3 guys and myself, we got together. Paul had turned to Glenn, and these guys had already talked about getting a quartet together. And then Paul said, "Hey, Chuck knows everybody. Let's go get Chuck." And so they asked me, and I said, "Sure, that sounds great." And then we asked this other guy, this other bass singer, and he said, "That sounds stupid." And so we picked one more guy, and he's the 4th guy. And the 4 of us have been singing together for 32 years, and it's the same 4 guys the whole time. And that really was, it's been an incredible part of my life to be in 3 Men and a Tenor. It's offered me incredible experiences and travel opportunities. We toured Scotland and England and Germany and all over the U.S. We've been to all but 7 states. And I was absolutely crushed in March of 2020 when all of a sudden all of our shows canceled. Everything canceled going forward. Obviously, we all were there. Everything in the world canceled. And it could easily have been the end of our group. And we didn't do really anything together for almost 9 months. And then we got together and we recorded like a Christmas card, a singing Christmas card. We all call it like, you been sick? You got a runny nose or anything? Is everything cool? All right, let's shoot this video. And so we shot this video, and I'm telling you, it's a brotherhood. And it was just so nice to see these guys and to get together and to do our thing again. And it was marvelous. So I love that. I love having that as a part of my life. I'm not here to talk about 3-minute a tenor, though it is part of our connective history between me and this group, I believe. Is this the group that used to produce the Kiwanis Christmas Sing at the Michigan Theater with Lucy Ann Lance? No, this is not the group. Kiwanis Western did that. I gotcha. Jeff Krause. Well, some Kiwanians and I have some history with 3-minute a tenor. Anybody here used to be a part of that group? That was always such a great event. I don't know, are they still doing that? Well, maybe it's time to steal the event. You guys could start that together. You could put that back on. I'll offer 3-minute a tenor for the first year. You guys want to do it? Let's do it. I think that'd be awesome. So, in the summer of 2020, my wife and I decided we were going to finally do something because it was, we'd been cooped up enough, and it was our anniversary. And I said, okay, we're going to go to this place. We went to the English Inn in Eaton Rapids, and on the way back home, we were driving. I just said, do we need to get home and in a hurry, or can we just take the back roads? So we were driving through Gregory, Michigan, and we stopped at this little farm stand. And the farmer there said, oh, hey, folks, it's good to see you. Glad you're where you live. And we said, oh, we live over on Portage Lake. And he said, oh, there's a little red house over on Portage Lake. They used to have a little farm stand. You know the guy who owns that? And I said, actually, I do. I know him quite well. He's the owner of the newspaper. And he said, well, if you could talk to him for me, I'd like to open a little farm stand there. And I said, okay, yeah, sure, I'll talk to him. And so I called Bob, and he said, well, I'm fishing for whitefish in the UP right now, but I'll be back at the end of July. And I said, okay, well, I guess we'll get together with this guy then. And so a couple weeks went by, and I called Bob, and I said, Bob, are you back? And he said, yeah, I'm back. You want to go see that farmer? And we went to see this farmer, and we made a deal that the farm stand would open up on his piece of property. And afterwards, Bob said, you know what? I owe you a beer and a sandwich. Let's go get lunch. And so we were driving back, and we were in Hell, Michigan, and we pulled off to get a sandwich. And the very first thing that I said to Bob when we sat down was, how's everything going with the newspaper? Must be kind of hard in COVID. And he said, I don't even want to talk about it. And I said, well, what's going on? And he said, well, we've been out of print for 2 weeks. I don't have any advertisers in the paper. When we furloughed everybody in March with the stay-at-home order, the writers just kept writing and publishing. I kept paying for the postage and paying for the printing for the paper to go out, but we lost 90% of our advertisers. And when I called the advertising people back, nobody came back to work because they were all making more money on unemployment than they ever did selling ads, because none of them ever worked very hard. And so I'm about $85,000 in debt, and I think I'm sunk. And I don't think there's any resurrecting this thing. And I said to him, oh, geez, I wish I could help you. And he said, you can. Why don't you go sell some ads for me? Now, I have to tell you, when I was working at the Encore Theater 5 years before, I threw this event. It was a press event, and this is the night that I met Bob Nestor. And we were talking after the show, and I was rather emphatic about something that I was talking about the Encore, and he said, you should be selling ads for my newspaper. And over the next couple of years, he offered me the job every time I saw him. We'd bump into each other, and he'd say, hey, great to see you. You should be selling ads for my newspaper. And so finally, I was selling ads for this newspaper. We made a deal. I said, yeah, I'm going to go sell these ads. And I did it for about 2 weeks. And at the end of the 2 weeks, we got back together, and I said, okay, here's the list. I've got these 15 that are coming back, and I've got these 3 new ones, and these are some people that I've been talking to, and I think if we change some things, we can get these guys back. And he said, okay, you're a natural at this. You're doing better than I thought. How would you like to run the whole thing and eventually own the newspaper? And, you know, Bob at the time was 70, and so he was kind of looking for a successor. And I said to him, well, you know, that's a little bit different than go sell some ads for me. But frankly, I'm not doing anything else right now. I'm not singing in the group. You know, I was working for a marketing company, and I said, let's give it a go. And so we scheduled a print date for the first paperback. It was September 29th of 2020. So you're seeing me here now on pretty close to the three-year anniversary of being back in print with the Sun-Times News. And it has been an absolute joy. A lot of work. A lot more work than I ever knew. And I'll tell you, if you know anybody who works for a newspaper, thank them, because it is a very, very hard job. There's a ton of work that goes into it, and it's very stressful. But it truly is one of my favorite jobs of my life. In fact, I think it is hand in hand with singing in 3 Men and a Tenor, my two favorite things that I've ever done. And I think what I like so much about the newspaper is that it really has value. Beyond being a job that I do for money, this is something that I feel is very much service in addition to being a career. And I know that this resonates with a lot of people like Mike Madison. The job of being a teacher, the job of being an administrator at a school is a job of service as well. They don't do it for the big bucks, you know, and the same is true of this newspaper. And I find myself in a position now where I feel obligated every week to make sure that the paper has everything in it that it possibly can, that we, you know, honor the ads, get, you know, to help people get business. It is a desperately important piece of our communities. And so I appreciate Laura looking up what I had said before, because that really very much is what's in my heart, is that this is a thing that I do out of service. I'll tell you something. About 7 years ago, I remember being on Facebook, and I was part of a group called Friends of Dexter. And I remember reading this post one day because the Country Market grocery store had closed in Dexter. And there was all kinds of chatter because 2 weeks after they closed, there were 2 white vans parked out in front of Country Market. Somebody typed in, there are 2 white vans in front of Country Market. What's going on? Is something moving in? And somebody replied back, I heard it's gonna be Trader Joe's. And all of a sudden, I love Trader Joe's. Oh, you can get the cheap wine at Trader Joe's. Yeah, $2 chuck, that's great. They've got some great soups at Trader Joe's. They've got great products. I hope that we get a Trader Joe's. And all of a sudden it builds up and builds up and builds up. And somebody finally types in, I called Trader Joe's. It's not them. And the next person types in, it's the sister company, Aldi. We're getting an Aldi in Dexter. Oh, you can get the cheap wine at Aldi too. It's not as good, but it's pretty good. You really have to know how to shop at Aldi. They got some bum products, but if you shop smart, you can get some good stuff and save a lot of money. Then all of this builds up and builds up and builds up until somebody finally says, I called Aldi. They're not opening a store in Dexter. The next person types in, I heard that there's black mold in the roof and they're gonna tear the building down. And it was all BS. And it is all rumor mill. And I'm telling you folks, if we are resigned to getting our news, any news of any value from Facebook, we're all in trouble. And so I know that the value of this newspaper is that our writers vet the stories. They do the digging, they dig down, they find out what's happening, and they write about it. And it's news that you can trust in a world where you can't trust the news a lot of the time. And I'm telling you, the local community newspapers like this, it's the only place in the country where there's growth in newspapers. Everyone else is dwindling. Everybody else is hurting. We are talking about what's happening at city council, at school board, we cover high school sports. And these are the things that really matter. I don't think there's a greater joy for most parents than seeing their kid in the paper. being celebrated for doing something good. That's awesome. There's, such an important facet of being a part of a community that comes from having a strong newspaper. I'm a part of the Michigan Press Association, and I learned a staggering and sad fact at our annual conference in October. And this was at that time, before some other papers that I know of have closed. At that time, 49% of the communities in Michigan did not have any sort of newspaper representation at all, online or in print. Think about that one. That's an uninformed public. And I know people in Ann Arbor. I know the pain. I used to get the Ann Arbor News. I remember when that was one of the best papers in the Midwest. And I know the pain that you feel. And everybody tells me, MLive just, it isn't what it used to be. And that's very sad. And I hope that it can come back. I don't know if it can. It requires more support. It requires people in the community to really support the newspaper. We can't make it. So our paper goes out free to people who we mail it out to. We mail it out to every home in Dexter, Chelsea, and most homes in Saline. And it costs $7,500 a week to print and mail this paper. It is no small task to do it. It's all advertiser driven. We have, however, thousands of people who volunteer a subscription, and they call and they say, hey, I'd like to donate, $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever, and they subscribe online to our newsletter that goes out daily. And that's really become an important part of our business as well, because without that, I feel like we wouldn't quite have enough to do everything that we do. We're trying to expand our coverage so that we can cover more communities that are not currently being covered. Pinckney does not have a newspaper. Milan does not have a newspaper. Grass Lake. Manchester is lucky enough. Manchester does have a newspaper. But so many of these communities around here don't. So my goal right now with the paper is to surround Ann Arbor, and then maybe someday we'll conceive, we've talked about this, the idea of doing a Sun-Times News in Ann Arbor, possibly based on the schools, based on, this is the Skyline Sun-Times, this is the Pioneer Sun-Times, this is the Huron Sun-Times, because so much of our lives when our kids are in school gravitates around our kids. That's maybe some of the most important news that we can help deliver, is what's happening at the schools, what's happening at school board, what's happening at city council in Ann Arbor Township. I think it's pretty important. I think I'm at a good spot. We've got, I think, 5 minutes or so left on my time. I'd love to take any questions if anybody's got any questions. Still involved at the Encore. I am. I volunteer there. I have not been on stage there in a couple of years, 5 years probably. But this gentleman right here.
With the importance of advertising in your paper, what's the minimum proportion of news to advertising? Do you have some goal?
We do have a goal. I try to keep it a ratio of 1/3 advertising to 2/3 content. Sometimes it's hard to do that. We're limited without going over. It's an extreme upcharge to go beyond 20 pages. I have to do 2 sections if I go beyond 20 pages, and so sometimes it's a little bit more advertiser heavy, which, frankly, helps for the weeks that are not. There are some miserably hard months of the year to get through. January and February are almost disastrous for most newspapers. You think about that. You're past the peak. The fall is great. Christmas is great. And then the new year is awful. You can only run so many ads for Vic Tanny and, getting back in shape. Yeah, that's kind of the ratio that we're gunning for. Are you a newspaper man?
Well, my father was.
Did he have a ratio?
Sure they did, but I wasn't privy to it.
Yeah. If we were set up differently, if it was subscriber-based as opposed to mailed flat to the community, it could be a lot less if subscribers were paying for it to be coming to their homes. It'd be a different model. And we might explore that at some point in time, because it is awfully expensive to do it the way that we do it. It's important, though. Peter Shork has a question.
Mr. Colby,
Mr. Shork.
the Kiwanis Club of Ann Arbor has been subjected to the Ohio State fight song on a regular basis. Giant piece of crap. You are a very talented, wonderful singer. If I put in $20, will you lead us in the victors?
I don't know the words, but
But you know the tune, pal.
I shudder to tell you I was a tuba player at Michigan State, and we had alternative lyrics that I cannot sing in this room. And those are the only words I've ever learned.
I'll let you off the hook, buddy.
What's that you say? Right back here. Oh, microphone. Oh, Harry. Sorry, Harry.
Yeah, I asked Peter for the mic. I'd like to give you a chance to plug the Encore Theater a little bit. I know they're
Thank
doing
you.
Oklahoma as a season-ending performance.
Yes.
What other performances are coming up? And then also,
Yes, this weekend actually, Frankie. Or did anybody go see Frankie Valley this past weekend? Is it running one more weekend? I think it was. So there's a concert series now that's happening, and they've been really popular. There was one like the songs of Led Zeppelin, the songs of Frankie Valley and the Four Seasons this past Motown. What? The Mamas and the Papas, outstanding. So, I mean, get your tickets for those because those concerts sell out very quickly.
and are Three Men and the Tenor performing anytime soon?
It's funny that you ask. We actually have a couple of pending dates right now that we're trying to make sure we can pull it off and the Encore can pull it off. But I would say if you're looking at the calendar for the Encore in November or December, you're probably going to see us there. We're probably going back there. Dale had a question?
Yes, there used to be a very successful Kiwanis Club in Dexter. In fact, 3 of their members attained the office of governor of the Michigan district.
Wow.
And for various reasons, the club no longer exists. And I've been trying to sell people, especially in our club, that we're a suburb of Dexter, whether we realize it or not. And with Dexter being, at least on the surface, so successful in the programs they have and how they serve the community, and we have 2 alumni of Dexter High School in our club, do you think Dexter would be a prime spot for us to obtain new members of this club?
I think there are certainly a lot of people in Dexter that are service-minded, that I think would be interested in your club. I can tell you the Rotarians are tremendously strong in Dexter. And I think they've probably picked up a lot of the members that used to be Kiwanians, and maybe you've picked up several here as well. Yeah, I think there's always a place for service organizations. I think you have to start with a really strong base, though. So, you know, I would encourage you to try. Is there one in Chelsea? Yes. Yes. Interesting that Dexter is where there's a void. Is there one in Saline? Wow. Yeah, that's sad that there's not one currently. I would think it would be possible to revitalize one.
I have one. Hi, I'm Laura Ramirez. I just wanted to compliment you. I live in South Township, I guess. But the recent article that you did on Dexter City Council meeting and the housing issues that we've had an ongoing not accepting of
Yeah,
all
sure.
in our community, I thought was a great piece. It covered all the facts. It pointed out that Avalon Housing had been responsive, so thank you. Without that, I wouldn't have known the details. And,
Sure.
it was nice to be able to see it in print, so we whatever we can do to support you and the paper, I think it's good to get that political perspective out in the
Thank
community
you.
as well. So thank you.
I appreciate that. I will say, along with that, I feel like our writer did a very good job of being unbiased, which is, I think, quite critical. There was another story a couple of weeks before that for the Dexter United Methodist Church, which many of you may know. There's a split that's happening in the Methodist churches, and it would have been very easy for the writer to even mistakenly have expressed their opinion in one way or the other. And I felt like the article did a tremendous job of not giving the writer's viewpoint, but merely telling the facts and letting people from the community share their words. And I mean, folks, this is really what I think is lacking in news, and it's smarter to do it this way, to be unbiased and to say, here's what people are saying, not me. Here's what people are saying about this, and you decide. I think too often in news, and this is why I think people are so mad at each other right now, you're being told what to believe, not what happened. And I think that's a disastrous recipe, honestly. So we're very committed to being unbiased. I have been called, by the way, both a bleeding heart liberal and a damned MAGA supporter. And so those are the words used to describe me. So I know that I'm doing a good job because I've not been pigeonholed yet correctly. Go ahead.
Dan Deaver. This organization has been around for over 102 years. Started out small, built in Ann Arbor, came here, and we now reach 5 counties, every direction you want to look at. Can we entice you into doing a detailed article on this Kiwanis thrift store, this Kiwanis club, this Kiwanis Foundation, and how we're currently impacting the community? Because we give more than $6,000 worth of goods to other charities for them to sell every
Yes.
week. We have just earned 1.663 mil, and we give away a lot of money, and that's Washtenaw County money. We don't go outside
Right.
Washtenaw County except on a rare occasion. So I would ask, I think we could be a very interesting article, but I think it would also help expand our sales and our memberships out of Dexter.
I think so too. There was an article. Dale, do you remember when that article ran? We ran an article about Kiwanis. Was it a month ago? I think there was a bigger.
It was during the centennial.
When do you say?
During the centennial celebration.
In June, it was in June.
Okay.
So that was emphasizing the past. I'm trying to emphasize the future.
I understand, but all I'm saying is we're certainly open to it. You know, we've done some support for the group before, and we absolutely. I mean, you know, like I said before, the way that I view this paper is so much that it is a community service as well as being a business. I mean, I employ several writers that make their living doing this, and salespeople. One of my best friends here, Evan Arhangelos, has been working with me since I got started at the paper, actually, and it's important to all of us. But one of the things that's key with the newspaper is absolutely supporting nonprofits and people that are doing good things. We want to, continue to promote and draw attention there. I think my time is up. Oh, did you have a question?
I'm Susan Smith, and I'm on Zoom, and I just wanted to encourage you to watch for our what we send out in early year for people to apply for funding for various types of things that you need on a nonprofit basis. And it seems to me your paper might qualify. Okay.
All right, that sounds like a good option. I like that. Let's talk. All right, thanks, folks. I really appreciate it.